Okay, this is day 280, part one, and I thought I would go back to my slides now that a generous member donated this laptop to me. I have the ability to do my slides again. I just didn't have enough memory from all the research and all the citations before this. But this really is a story of Hillary and Imran and the Awan brothers, Omar and the other brothers and the wives. And really was my interest in Hillary way back to the Hillary server, the Hillary emails, and then the Blackberries that really took me down this path. Now, I'll admit that I've had a lot of run-ins with Mr. McCabe here over the last 7 or 8 years, and that kind of sensitized me to this whole issue of using foreign nationals through what's known as a liaison loophole to do spying on Americans. So I had, long before I had ever known about the Awans, I had thought that the Mr. McCabe was doing spying in the United States through the liaison loophole, through using foreign nationals to spy on Americans. So I was a little bit, I had a little bit of confirmation bias. So this story really starts on January 5th, 2017, and there's an incident filed by Soraya Begum, who is the mother-in-law of Imran Awan. And you can see here from the incident report that it's a domestic dispute, and there is a person named involved who is Mohammed Shah, which is her husband. And you can see here Abid Awan. You can read the incident report, but it goes on to say that the mother here is being kept from her husband. The stepmother is being kept from her husband, and so forth. There's a complaint that comes out of this a little bit later on that says that where the mother-in-law, the stepmother, accuses the Awans of actually threatening her with kidnapping of her relatives in Pakistan if she doesn't sign over her inheritance when her husband dies. This is Mohammed Shah, who was Mohammed Imran only a few days before his death. So he's changed his name for some reason. But I did notice that Mohammed Shah is Imran Awan's father. Ruhan Awan, the grandson, posts, grandfather left this mortal world, pray for him in peace. And then Omar Awan and Imran Akbar Shah both talk about, give him, sorry to hear about your Uncle G. So I really believe Omar Awan and Imran Akbar Shah are the two names of the brothers that we're actually talking about in the Awan scandal. Okay. Now, a little background. Like I said, I was already tuned or pre-sensitized to Andrew McCabe. He had taken the $675,000 bribe, and he had destroyed evidence, and he had done this quid pro quo with Patrick Kennedy at the State Department. He had said a lot of nasty things about Trump and Michael Flynn. So, and previous directors of the FBI had said, in the handling of the Hillary and Huma case, no grand juries, no subpoenas, no court orders, immunity for all the co-conspirators, letting all the co-conspirators interview together. I mean, these are crazy things the FBI never does. So I was already kind of, following the Andrew McCabe story well before he was the current director. And I was also following the story of how private email was being used by these 19 different conspirators that were at the State Department. So they were all using Blackberries, and then there was all these deals being negotiated at the State Department all over the world. So I was following that. So I was looking for someone in Congress and someone at the State Department who was configuring, who's doing this? Who's configuring these phones? Who's configuring these Blackberries for this Gmail? So when this story broke by true pundit Thomas Paine, and I've talked to him and collaborated with him on this, it immediately became obvious to me that what they were doing was since Anthony Weiner was such a strong BlackBerry advocate, I thought, Huma is just syncing her BlackBerry to Anthony's now famous laptop. This was confirmed by James Comey, and later with another letter from Andrew McCabe saying this is exactly how the hacks were done. They just put the BlackBerry next to the laptop and it would automatically sync. So I thought, well, that may be exactly how this situation happened. There was an email in the WikiLeaks that talked about Hillary saying, hey, I want Anthony's trusted staff in DC to configure these secure phones. So there's a thing said from Hillary saying maybe one of Anthony's trusted staff could deliver a secure phone. And then Huma responds, okay, I will have blah, 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 just FedEx you a secure phone from DC. Well, why would they, if it's just an IT person configuring a secure phone, why would that be redacted? Didn't make any sense to me. And so Hillary was giving a lot of these phones to different Wall Street folks, and I didn't know what the heck was going on with all the Wall Street speeches. So I really started looking into this BlackBerry issue and this 650,000 emails. Then I started following Luke Rosiak's work at the Daily Caller, and he started talking about thin clients and offsite servers that these Awan brothers had done, stealing equipment from congressional members' offices. So I started saying, oh, this is not good. I had remembered that John Kerry had said that all the negotiations for the Iran deal, the Iran nuclear deal, were on BlackBerries, and then Hillary had made a show of showing a BlackBerry during the Pakistani floods. So a lot of this kept pointing back to the Awans configuring BlackBerries. So this is just a reminder of the $400 million deal there. And then Obama had this watered down BlackBerry as well that was configured by some special group. So when Maria Bartiromo broke this story about a spy ring in Congress, I immediately thought about the BlackBerries. The fact that the Awans were on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, they represented it and worked for representatives on that committee like Andre Carson, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs. I think the Foreign Affairs Director just said yesterday, I believe his name is Knight, Stephen Knight, that the Awans had total access to everything on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And here was the external server. So I know Omar was at the White House also dealing with passports and visas. So I started thinking, this is much bigger than I thought. This is the solution, I thought at that time, of the hacks at the DNC and the DCCC. The DNC is for Bernie and Hillary to get money in the national election. The DCCC is for the congressional members over in the same building on Ivy Street to get money for their congressional campaigns. So I immediately started suspecting maybe the Awan brothers used this BlackBerry hack to look at the members' emails as well to do those hacks. I started doing a little research on Abid Awan, Imran Awan, and the third brother, Jamal Awan, and I found all these companies. They took over this car dealership that went bankrupt, that took a loan from the Congressional Credit Union for $100,000 after two cars had been repossessed. They were all making $160,000 a year. They seem to have a lot of different technology companies that they were also doing. So they were a government contractor as well as working for the government, making quite a bit of money as a part-time employee. So I had my antenna up as far as what the heck is going on here. But then I saw this. This was the one that really flipped me out, was Al-Attar. When I knew that Al-Attar was a member of this car dealership that the Awans were in, Al-Attar goes back in terrorism ties all the way back to 2004. He is a known operative for both for Iraq to Iran terror negotiations. He's been connected to Hezbollah, and this is the Daily Signal comes out and says, yes, congressional aides in this criminal probe owed money to this guy, owed money to Al-Attar. Well, he has his own problems. He lost his medical license. He was sexually exploiting patients under anesthesia. He had all sorts of tax evasion issues. So I just started saying, oh, this is much more serious than I thought. In addition, in the car dealership area, there was also these home mortgage companies on the same street in Falls Church, Virginia, that had connections to money laundering for different Iranian and Iraqi interests, and they also had White House connections. So immediately I started saying, again, this could be worse than I had originally thought. They once had the mother of Imran Awan's wife was Surya Begum. She also was connected closely to the government of Pakistan as the interior minister, and she was quite a bit involved in satellite technology. And again, they formed two companies. One was called Nanoset Technology. It looked like Nanosat, so that interested me. And then they created this other kind of mysterious corporation called the New Dawn Corporation. Now, they're connected. There's a daughter, I don't know if she's the daughter or not, that's over at the VA hospital, and they're connected to this AAIT, which is a hacking company. I don't know if that's a real connection or not still to this day, but I just thought this is unusual that these people in Congress have all these other connections. AIT, I won't go into the details, but it's very involved in teaching hacking. They have these Pakistani hackathons in Washington, D.C. Again, all the people that had BlackBerries just started clicking for me that Cheryl Mills, the BlackBerry, Victoria Nuland with the BlackBerry, James Balsillie, who is the CEO of RIM, had all kinds of stock manipulation charges and paying fines and just a whole black kind of history with that company. So I started looking at Anthony Weiner's Crackberry habit and so forth, and it just seemed like the BlackBerries were the key to this investigation. As you probably remember, the NSA dismissed Hillary dismissed the NSA's version of the secure BlackBerry and started demanding that she use her own. Several different articles there were written. This was the secure phone she was offered for $5,000. She said, no, I want my own team, my own trusted staff to configure my own quote-unquote secure phones. I'm thinking, hey, these are dope phones. So Daily Caller with Luke Rosiak started following him and seeing that not only were there 20 burglaries that I thought there were earlier, but up to 80 Democrats had phones configured by these Awan brothers. You know, Greg Meeks here is one of them, but there's a whole list, and that they had received now over $5 million. This was $4 million at the time, but over $5 million. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I decided at that point, maybe I need to get involved. I looked at Imran Awan's Facebook account. It had a lot of ties to CIA-supported political military organizations in Pakistan, which troubled me. And they seemed to have all these houses. They had 12 houses, and they had all these businesses, 22 different businesses, a lot of different mortgage companies. And they had people living at the house that seemingly could just rack up tickets without a license and without a registration, without any penalties. I thought, that sounds like a diplomatic license to me. That sounds like the people that are here have diplomatic passports. What the heck is going on? And of course, we had the stepmother, Galani, this isn't her picture, I'm just using this as a placeholder, saying, hey, they threatened me. They made me sign over my inheritance. They were hacking my cell phone. Oops. In this police report, they said hacking the cell phone. These guys have skills in hacking the cell phone. So I actually went to this office, this house, knocked on the door. It had congressional markings in the window, as Luke Rosiak later mentioned to me in our conversations. So I went to all 12 homes. I knocked on all 12 doors. And the last one I knocked on, I talked to this man right here, Andre Taggart, who's a U.S. Marine. He met me right on the front porch here, and I said, hey, there's lots of stories with this team of guys that this Imran Awan is maybe hacking these BlackBerries and laptops in Congress. He said, well, that's funny. He said his name was Imran. He said his name was Alex, but it is Imran. I rented this house from his wife, and sure enough, in the back there is a stack of laptops, hard drives, and also BlackBerries. And we just confirmed this again in a live interview with Andre Taggart. I said, well, anything unusual? Yeah, they all had government markings. I called Navy intelligence because my wife works for the Navy, so NCIS has a report on these BlackBerries and laptops. The FBI came, so there's a report there. And also we have a report with the Capitol Police. So there's lots of documentation about these BlackBerries and laptops with government markings. So I started looking more into the Awans and their background and so forth, and all this stuff about the ISI 111th, which is a Army unit, but really what it is a special forces team that's created by the intelligence services of Pakistan, which is the Pakistan ISI. Plus there was all these Awan Brothers Pharma and Awan Brothers Transportation, and just a lot of different references to Pakistan 111th. Which I didn't consider a good sign. So then I started looking at the two wives of these guys, and one of them's Hina Alvi, And her mother, of course, is Soraya Begum. And then this is Natalia Sova. Well, I started looking at Hina Alvi, and she's got ties to satellite companies as well. This Supar Corps does satellite seminars and sells satellite technology to OPEC nations. As a matter of fact, not just OPEC nations, but nations all around the world for surveillance, as well as for looking for oil and gas and that sort of thing, and minerals. So just seemed like lots of odd connections there to the satellite and technology industry. So these people are looking at our congressmen, and they're working with some of our top people. If they have access to our research in terms of DHS, satellite technology, or other technology in other parts of our government, that's not a good thing. So then Natalia Sova comes up, and she's Ukrainian. And then she has these ties to also this a car company called Easy Car Buying. And she's got these ties to the Ukraine Nadra Bank. So this is really not looking good. It's a lot of international ties. It seems like there's some kind of connection to foreign intelligence services. Well, I look at this space conference here, the second annual space conference in 2016, and who is the conference secretary but Hina Abid Alvi? Now, it's slightly changed, Aliv, but here she's working for Supercore. Now, I don't know. I believe that's just her how the name is spelled, but this is in 2016, she's supposed to be working for Congress, making $165,000 a year. How could she also be in the space conference? And I also published a picture of her at this conference. So I just didn't understand that. It seemed like we had people working for two different governments. And anytime you have that, especially when they're from this country, from Pakistan, their allegiances could be with the foreign government and not the United States. I had remembered also that Hillary was involved with this guy named Amjad Awan with Mark Rich in the BCCI scandal. So there's ties that go all the way back to Mina Airport. If you put stock in the Mina Airport story, a movie's coming out next month called American Made with Tom Cruise, and you can make your judgments for yourself. But there was clearly a case, United States versus Amjad Awan, that had Mark Rich as the key money launderer from this Pakistani-owned bank, which was BCCI, which was Amjad Awan. There was also connections to these Gulf companies where you had different royal family members involved in this Gulftainer deal that we had done. It was a 35-year no-bid deal. It was right next to our Trident subbase in Canaveral, Florida, near where I am now. And the bad part about this was the deal is owned, this Gulftainer is owned by these top two Iraqi and Iranian nuclear scientists. So an Iraqi nuclear scientist and a Iranian nuclear scientist own a company, this Gulftainer, that are shipping these huge container ships right next to where our Trident subbase is. So this is what heightened my concern, because there is this loophole known as diplomatic containers, where if you're a member of the royal family or in their protective group, you can start shipping things into U.S. ports. And that's where I got involved with this Memphis Maersk story that you can look up later. But it was out of concern that, hey, wait a minute, we've got royal family members here, we've got nuclear scientists owning shipping companies, and they're coming in near our Air Force stations and our Trident subbases. And again, it's all negotiated by this Jack Lew. He was one of the guys with the BlackBerries in the State Department that's connected to this Iran scandal. So the other deal. Now, this is an interesting story with this Alpha Jallo. I wouldn't have thought anything weird about this, but there was a shooting on Capitol Hill 2 days after Seth Rich was murdered. Now, that's right where the Awans worked, and they had this car company. Now, I just thought it was interesting that the wheelman for that shooting on Capitol Hill 2 days after Seth Rich was murdered was named Alpha Jallo. And they changed his age, and they changed the police report and so forth. This Alpha Jallo is in New York City and New Jersey, and he's involved in a big car theft ring. So I wondered, hey, is this Alpha Jallo somehow connected to the Awan brothers? Is he bringing cars down to their car dealership? Because the Awans have this seem to have these transportation companies, and they have these car dealerships in Pakistan. So a lot of unanswered questions in here. But the thing that really threw me was when I looked at this company called the Wan Brothers Inc., and you can see here's their registration number in Virginia. And I looked, and every company has a registered agent when you register with the state Secretary of State. And the registered agent for this company was Arshad Mahmood. Well, Arshad Mahmood had been involved in hiring two MS-13 kids driving down. I went to his place here on 4902 Dashiell Place, and he had been involved with this gold transport of murdering a car dealer down in Virginia, down in Richmond, Virginia. So I started thinking, is this whole thing the Wan brothers back in Virginia were taking in cars from other dealers on consignment? Were they just shipping them directly to Pakistan? That's exactly what other car dealers accused the Wan brothers of doing. Is this just another case of a dealer that wouldn't be quiet and then they were killed by this Manassas Mahmood, Arshad Mahmood? Again, I didn't make Arshad Mahmood the registered agent of Wan Brothers LLC. So I think that more research needs to be done in that area as well. Luke Rosiak came out with this story talking about how the congressional members in Congress, the House of Representatives, were in fear of the Wan brothers. I thought, what kind of crazy situation is this, where we are afraid of foreign nationals who are probably potentially connected with Pakistan ISI? So that was why I got involved there. And as I mentioned, I have been involved with Mr. McCabe for probably since 2007, since he framed this poor kid, this Somali kid, this 17-year-old kid, and they worked with him with informants for 3 years, and then they finally arrested him. They built a bomb for him, and they arrested him. So I am certainly in no way anti-Muslim. As a matter of fact, I was very pro-Muslim before this whole thing started, and I still am. I'm not anti-Pakistani. I'm not even anti-Pakistani ISI intelligence. I'm just anti-Pakistani ISI intelligence on Capitol Hill that are hacking our lawmakers. That's my issue with that. So again, they call this conspiracy theory or whatever. On the other side, there's the PP tape from Fusion GPS. And there's this New York Times reporter driving around this vessel Nitskaya for a year trying to compromise someone in the Trump campaign. I just think that really the fake news is coming from over here on the alt-left side, and not people who are just concerned citizens with spy rings in Congress. Thanks very much, and we'll continue to report this story.